But first I want everybody to kind of introduce themselves, tell a little bit about how long you've been with the company. If you've had an aha from the work that we've done my first year, I thought that was really good. And then this last year I sold over $3 million. And I think the story behind the story here is this. I don't know where you guys are starting, but I came to this area and I didn't know anyone. I had no connections. I'd never been in real estate. And all I did last year was prospect. So if I did one thing, this was the one thing. Gary Keller talks a lot about that, is what is your one thing, and then do it, and do it really well. And I think I would tell you this is the one thing that I did. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. We're supposed to talk about your daily 10-4. So let me just ask you guys, you're supposed to be doing these things. You're building your database, you're prospecting, you're following up. Have you guys been doing this week since you got started?
This month.
Yes? Yes? Okay. And I'm going to take my shoes off because I'm going to get lower to the ground. That being said, if someone has done it, have you guys had any ahas? I mean, has anything come from you doing Ignite so far that you've learned that you put into practice that you want to share with the group?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I got out to meet some people, and I didn't exactly invite them for coffee like we were assigned to do. However, I went to a retirement open house for this woman that I've known for years and years, but we hadn't really connected in a long, long time. And within a couple of days, she calls me up. I've got 2 houses I want you to list.
Oh my gosh.
So I just listed them over the weekend, and I mean, it was, and I asked her, I said, you know so many people here in the area. I said, and you know so many different agents. You know, why me? And she pointed out exactly, she goes, you came to my retirement party. She says, I was really impressed with it. I mean, it was just something that I wanted to do. I didn't go on the basis of finding any prospects. I just wanted to go see her.
Sure.
So
I think that is the gut of what we're trying to do here. It's all about meeting as many people and exposing yourself to as many people as you possibly can, and then connecting with them. So that's absolutely what will make you a successful agent, because you're willing to go beyond what most people probably do, and then clients remember that. Derek, you didn't teach me how to move my, oh, I did it by myself. I love that. Okay, so we kind of talked about your 10-4. You know, what does your database look like right now? I mean, I honestly would tell you that's kind of what my database looked like, and then Derek got a hold of me and made me clean up my database. So I think the biggest thing that we've got to remember in looking at your database is you really need to get organized and prepared and really clean things up and really work hard to get as much information as you can about the people that you're putting in your database. And then what do you do with it? You know, what are you going to do with this database?
hey, girl.
We've talked about what some of your results were from just starting out in Ignite, and I think that's one of the things that when you start looking at your database and prospecting, those things have to go together, and you have to be willing to ask good questions and to talk to as many people as you can. All right?
Hey, Sharol, I did not attend one of the classes, but Gary brought something back, and you know, there's so much in Keller Williams. You just do not realize until you've been to another company. There is so much in Keller Williams. And he brought something back, and it's part of Keller Williams. It was one of those buyer profiles. I thought, my Lord, this is what I try to scribble all the time. So I'm going to start printing those off and just keeping them on my table, because, you know, those are things that are just great, you know.
Well, we even went to, because I take 2 hours in the morning every morning, and I prospect, okay? And Derek comes in and asks me, are you ready to prospect? And I say, yeah, I can't wait. And so at the end of the day, I used to take cards and I would make sure I got the information that I needed, because you always get into a conversation with someone and then you forget. So if you have something that you're using to help guide you, I think that helps you get there. Would someone read the habit definition for me? Does anybody want to volunteer?
Is it?
Okay.
An acquired behavior pattern regularly followed until it has become almost involuntary. That's what a habit is. The habit of looking both ways before crossing the street. It becomes involuntary because you've done it so many times.
Exactly.
Customary, did you want me to continue?
Oh, that's good enough. That's a lot of stuff, but the whole point to that is you're here in Ignite so that you can learn to make good habits, and sometimes we have bad habits and we've got to break them. And you have to make prospecting a habit. It's not something that you're going to wake up every day and go, I am so stoked, I get to go prospect. But you have to get in a mindset that says, you know what, I'm going to go prospect today and I'm going to add value to whoever I talk to on a daily basis. Okay, so a habit is something you have to work at and get in a routine. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of, I was a swimmer. And one of the things that I always did is we warmed up, we lifted weights. I mean, we did all the same things over and over and over again. And, by doing that, you become successful, or you get to the end of what you want. And I think what happens is you start a habit, and you do it a couple of times, and maybe you get some turn downs or whatever, some rejections, and then you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Or as a real estate agent, we're always juggling a bunch of different balls. And so the reality is we always find something that gets in the way. This is the one thing you cannot let things get in the way of. And you can, Derek attests to this, I will get in my office, I'll say I'm getting ready to do my 2 hours of prospecting, and somebody will inevitably come into my office and get me kind of off track, and he'll walk in and go, are you still prospecting? And I'm like, yeah, hey, you gotta go. So, I mean, you just really have to start focusing in and getting really honed in on making this a habit in your day, okay? All right. Now someone do me the honors of reading prospecting.
An apparent probability of advancement, success, profit, and etc. The outlook for the future, good business prospects. Anticipation, expectation, a looking forward. Something in view as a source of profit, a potential or likely customer, client, etc. A potential or likely candidate.
Okay. Prospects, okay? They're the lifeline to our business. They are everything that you need to be successful. They are the things that are going to make you enjoy your job and make you have a longevity in this career, okay? Prospecting is the cheapest, quickest, fastest way to grow your business. There are a lot of people, and you will find them because you'll get called, that are going to ask you for money to help you. And they're going to tell you that if you get in Discover Magazine, or if you buy leads on Zillow, or if you do this or you do that, that I can make you successful. And that's not right, okay? What's going to make you successful is meeting as many people as you can, telling them how much you want to help them in their real estate endeavors, and then learning about them, okay? I don't pay to get on Zillow. I very infrequently use Discover, okay? I do the cheap form of picking up the phone and calling people, and everywhere I go, I introduce myself, I tell them what I do and what I can do to help them, okay? So it's cheap. So on 4.3, Gary, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read you one piece of what Gary Keller said. He says, treat prospecting like any other important appointment on your schedule. If an agent were on a listing appointment, would they stop in the middle to take a phone call or to check their email or have a sandwich? Chris advises that agents treating prospecting the same way because it is actually more important than a listing presentation or anything else that might be on their calendar. Okay?
I look at prospecting also as a referral,
Yep.
because not always are you going to have that client, but the referral because you prospect that client is where I
Exactly.
look at it.
Exactly. 4.4, it talks about, it's the countdown to payday. So you get a lead, you get an appointment, yay, jump for joy. Then you're going to find something that you agree on. Even if they don't give you a listing, maybe it's, can you bring me back some information to make a better decision, whatever that agreement is. And eventually somewhere down the line, you're going to get a contract to close, and then you're going to have a financial end that's a positive, okay? So that being said, now we're going to kind of get into today's kind of workspace. We're going to look at what you're going to do with the prospect. You're going to capture all the information, right? You're going to connect with them. You're going to build a relationship. You're going to cultivate these people. Some of them you're going to get for sure, list my house just like she did, a quick win. But some of them, they're not going to be that easy. Some of them you're going to have to, build this relationship, massage it, work with it, and, over time, get them there with you. And then we're going to get a close to an appointment or a close to a listing or whatever that might be, okay? So let's talk about preparation. How might you prepare to talk to clients? What are things that you would do when you're getting ready to prospect? Does anybody have a couple, what do they do?
I would prepare by building my knowledge base about the products, about the market, about everything to do with us. I would want to appear to them to be a very knowledgeable, confident agent.
That's good.
Language of real estate.
Yep.
Yes.
Know our numbers.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't have numbers right now, then use the numbers that are out there. Okay, there's a lot of numbers and we look real good right now compared to our competition. The other thing that I would tell you is know who you're going to be talking to, because when you sit down to prospect, are you going to be calling a friend? Well, that conversation is going to look a lot different than the conversation of calling an expired, okay? And Derek sees me do this all the time. When I get ready to call on expires or whatever I'm going to do, I sit down and I study the house of the person who I'm getting ready to call. Then I get on and I try to find, I Google search people to see if I can find out anything about them to get me prepared for that call. Whatever I can do, maybe it's even researching the subdivision in which the house is in, because all of that is going to make you look smarter. You're going to be able to give them something of value when you talk with them. So those are all, people think you just start calling. No, that's not what you do. And then the other thing is you've got to use scripts, all right? I'm not a fan of scripts. I kind of do my own thing. I come from 30 years of working in pharmaceuticals and hospital sales. So I know how to talk with people in sales, so I do that. I would suggest to you, if you have never ever been in this business, the scripts that they have out there with Keller Williams, you need to use them. I mean, you can kind of do your own massaging of what that might look like, but it gives you the comfort of having something to help you start the conversation, okay? Once you kind of get some history of how you've done it in prospecting, then I think you can kind of start relying on some of the things that you do, but using our scripts actually helps you with the fear factor, okay? Okay.
Sharol, on 410,
Uh-huh.
who, what, when, where, why, and how. That was I think that's a real good one when you're looking at those and you're asking those questions. So those are not scripts, but they are scripts.
I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. But I'm not quite there yet.
I'm sorry.
So you're jumping ahead of me. But
I'm
that's
sorry.
good, but you're right. You're right. One of the things that I always say when you're preparing, you have to give yourself a positive affirmation because nobody else is going to do it. So, because you're going to need it. Because prospecting's tough and you're going to get some no's. So before you ever get started, say, you know what, this is going to be a great day. if I get one lead today, that's an amazing. If you call 10 people and get one, that's awesome. So I always say, get into the right mode, right positive affirmation before you ever get started. Then what you have to do is you have to take good notes after you've gone through, you've done a prospect, you've done a lead. Whatever information that you get, make sure you track it, right? And I would tell you, from pharmaceuticals, we always set up from our first call, we always set up what our second call was gonna look like, all right? And that goes in your notes. So let's just say you called on an expired, okay? They wanted you to get back to them on maybe what things were selling for in their neighborhood, all right? But you didn't have that information right then, all right? So you say, you know what? I'll follow up with you. How about if I call you next month? I'll get to that information for you, blah, 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 and see where you're at, right? In your notes, you need to be really good at what's your next step, because that prepares you to go into that next call. So in your notes, right, get information on subdivision, what's selling, what the prices were, all of that stuff, so that you're ready for the next call, and it makes your job so much easier. Because instead of trying to figure out something to say, you have something to say, okay? And I think we talked about this, it's just so important that you're prepared. I think we look so stupid when you're brave enough to make the call, yet you didn't sit down and spend 30 minutes to get ready to do it. So that first 30 minutes is extremely important, and I would tell you, don't call till you've done it.
Visit with him.
Okay, so the things that you're gonna need, your database, your cell phone, your scripts, and then I always say the thank you cards come behind, because if you do nothing else different than anyone else, the thank you card's gonna kind of make you stand out, kind of like what Judy was talking about. But I think those are 4 easy things to bring to the table. The hardest part is your mindset, okay? Because you've got to ready yourself to be in the game, okay? And I have always been a competitive person my entire life, okay? So they try to tell you, you need to meet 10 people a day. I think that's the number. So my suggestion is, that seems like a huge number. So I always go, oh my gosh, 10, that's awful. How are you going to get that? Well, if you break it down, this is what I try to say. When I go to the grocery store, I'm going to meet 2. Okay? If I go to the gas station, I'm going to meet 1. Okay? I'm going to spend 2 hours prospecting. Of that 2 hours, I may get 5. And then at some other event during the day, I'm going to find a couple more people to talk to. And I think that's the way that you have to look at it, because if you don't overwhelm yourself, but just, make it a positive, easy way to break it up into 10 people, okay? And get as much data as you can about them. And then I always say you got to celebrate the victories. I spend 2 hours prospecting every day, and I may get 1 lead out of 2 hours. And that seems somewhat discouraging. But I always come out of the office when I get that 1 lead, and I go, I got a lead. I'm gonna go. I got an appointment, and I do my happy dance or do whatever it is, because that just helps me feel good about what I'm doing,
It encourages.
It is. It is all about.
Changes.
It
really
is discouraging to hear no, but no is only no today. It can turn into a yes in 6 months. And then the other thing I always say is, I want us to read this together. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. Opportunities come easy for me. But they don't come easy for me if you don't pick up the phone. Okay? So you can sit and say, woe is me, I don't have anybody, I don't have any leads, but it's all about what you want to do. Okay? The other thing that I always say is you need to be specific about what your dream is. What is it that you want to accomplish this year? So for me, I sat down and looked at, okay, I did $3 million last year. What's my goal this year? And Derek and I talk about this every day. We want to do $8 million this year, okay? And how do I want to break that up? Okay, I'm going to have to do $670,000 a month, all right? That for me is 4 houses at 150,000 and two lots at 35. That's not that hard. That's not that hard. So if you know what your dream is, you see what it is every day. I'm not saying every month you're gonna hit it, but if you have a dream, you have an idea of where your roadmap is gonna take you, you need to know. If you don't know what your number is, then you'll probably never reach it. All right. Someone read this for me.
Truth, your success in real estate will be in direct proportion to the number of people who, when they meet you, will want to work with you.
I think that's pretty simple.
Do you have another one?
I don't.
Here's one right here.
Oh,
Sorry. I just looked down with
this isn't rocket science,
Thank you
really.
so much.
I think that pretty much tells you
Recording was
the
nice.
truth. Because I think we need to be the billboard for our business, okay, wherever we are. And I'm not saying be annoying, because, the worst thing is to have people be annoying. I mean, I go to church, I never mention that I'm in real estate, okay? But people know, okay? I just think there's a way that we can positively talk to people wherever we go and tell them what we do without going over the top and being respectful of people's spaces. Okay, but the truth is, it is proportionate to who you're willing to talk to and what you're willing to say to them, okay? I don't think it should be forced. I think in my relationships with people, I try to give something. And if I do that, something of value, then I feel people will want to work with me. And I say this a lot in listing appointments and when I work with people. I work with people who want to work with me. If you don't want to work with me, I want you to find someone that you're more comfortable working with. And I think that's true in prospecting. I mean, there's clients that I've turned away because I just didn't feel like it was a right fit for both of us. And that's good for business because people talk about their real estate agent, and if your relationship isn't going to mesh, then it's best to cut it early than to try to force a square peg into a round hole.
this town is too small
That's exactly right.
for people
That's exactly
to
right.
share.
I'm going to give you an example of, prospecting. It's a conversation. That's what I call it. I hate when I tell you to use the scripts. Please don't use them so that it's forced. Because Kathy, you can attest to this. It's just awkward and
It's not you.
it's not you. So you've got to really sit down, look at the scripts, kind of massage it to make it feel you. And then whatever your strengths are, use those inside those conversations. So I'm going to give you an example of a client. Oh, I gotta share this with you first. We talked about, listen, you've got to get your data down. So, remember you're going to collect all this information. Their names, their emails, their address, if they're on social media, any detail, how many kids they have, where they live on the lake. Do they fish, they hunt? Whatever you can get about these people, that allows you to start building this relationship and doing what we would call is connecting with them. You have to build rapport, you've got to earn their trust, and that takes time. And then the relationship builds, and then you can finally feel like you've moved into this professional give and take with your client. I always say, I use the 80-20 rule, and sometimes I get a little over, maybe 50-50. But I had a really good instructor at one point who said, in a class like this, I'm talking more than I should be, but the point is 80% of the time your client should be talking, and 20% of the time you should be talking. If you use good questions that are open-ended, if you talk about the things they want to talk about, and you listen to what they're saying, then you can do that. if you're being forced, if you're trying to force a conversation and you're trying to lead, then you're never gonna get all this information that you need about your client. So let them talk, okay? I'm gonna give you an example of one of my clients. I have a client, he's not really a client yet because he's never bought anything from me. But he knows everybody, and I recognize he's got super value, and I know at some point he will be my client, okay? I met him, he owns a business in town, and I tell Derek every month I go get a donut at my favorite donut shop in Kimberly City, because that's part of my prospecting, and I sit there and I talk to whoever comes in the door, okay? And he was one of the guys who walked in to get a donut one day, and we sat down and started talking about the lake, and he's been here forever, he knows so many people, and he started telling me about his business, very knowledgeable about the core, and we started connecting, okay? And he had some real estate questions, so I talked a little bit about that. And then he knows a lot about the lake, so I would constantly call him and say, hey, can you tell me about this? This is the connection part, right? Can you tell me more about what's going on at the core, because he knows a lot about that. I knew someone who needed something that he does in his business, so I connected him with him. And do you see how this relationship is moving along? And he finally started calling me. I mean, he hasn't bought anything yet, but he's called me several times and said, hey, I'm kind of thinking about some rental property. What do you think about this? And, you know, we'll kind of talk about it. And so my whole point is that started about 4 months ago. He's not bought one thing from me, but he's someone I talk to on a regular basis. Kathy, do you have those?
I have one that I've worked for 5 years, and last year I sold him over $2 million, so yes, you just keep with him. And literally, when he used to call, I'd go, oh Lord, I just don't know if I can go through this again listening to him, but he never knew I said that. And basically.
The whole point is, everyone, the value is there in the connection and the relationship you're building with them, okay? So you're gonna capture their information, you're gonna connect with them. I'm cultivating this guy. It may be 5 years, okay? But the reality is, you know, we're in a relationship where we're both giving and we're both receiving something. And when you get to a relationship like that, eventually they will become a client, I believe. And sometimes they don't, and that's a bummer, but it's business.
You still made a good friend.
But you have been the recipient of
A lot of great information.
a lot, yes, and a great benefit, many benefits from him, from that relationship. So even if they don't buy.
And possible referrals, you'll never know.
Yeah, look what you received.
Yeah.
It's invaluable.
Just be ready, we're moving in to get that client, just so you know.
That's right.
Where's
You know
that
what?
coffee shop?
Can I tell you something? There's enough business in this
right.
board. You know, my husband, he laughs and he says, well, don't go tell all your secrets. I don't have any secrets, okay? Because I'll tell anyone who talks to me, the one thing I've done from the beginning is I call people and I talk to everyone. It's pretty simple. I mean, this is a lot of pages to tell you exactly what I just said, because I just know that connecting with people
It's everything.
is everything. So in business, it doesn't matter if you're selling a widget or a piece of real estate, it's the same, okay? All right, so that being said, I guess I should say, where are we in this?
You're about 14.
Okay, we talked about this. I'm rolling through these pretty good. Let's see. Okay, let's go with, let's go to page 410. Okay, to that point, Kathy, the connecting questions. You know, could someone read a couple of these for me, just the who, what, when, and why? Does anybody have some?
I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Oh, no, on page 410.
410, okay. Connecting questions. Give details to add your database, so you would ask, if you would please tell me a little bit about your family, your job, your life, etc. Who you are.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Tell me about you. I want to know. Okay. Next one.
Assess their needs. What are you looking for? And what do you want to do? So that's the big what, because we don't know where to go next.
Where would you like to buy? Where is your home located that you presently live in?
I love it when they give you the, why are you moving? I mean, I don't even have to ask it sometimes, they tell me.
Right.
When would you like to do this?
Yeah,
How do you plan to do this? And do you notice all of these questions are not a yes and no answer,
that's right.
okay? Yes and no is bad, okay? So the whole point is you really need to think through the questions that you're gonna ask your future client, and I mean
The
future.
dialogue, how you ask
Because
it.
you want them to engage and actively participate in the conversation.
Another
Okay.
thing, Cheryl, when you ask open-ended questions, it makes the recipient of your question feel important. It makes them feel like you care about them, about their life and what it is they want to do and why they need you.
Exactly.
Then they see they need you because you care about them. And people don't want to know what you know until they know you care.
It's so funny, I even use this sometimes in presentation, or when I'm talking with people. I never do a presentation, I just talk to people. But I didn't realize how close to, and if you're used to be a used car salesman, I apologize for saying this, but it is so funny to me because people's perception of a real estate agent is that we're like a used car salesman, and they are scared to death to give us any information that would allow us to figure out where they live and what they, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. And now that I'm on the other side of that, you know, you really have to, you know, learn to get trust from these people. And the sooner you can connect with them in this relationship building process, the sooner you're gonna, you know, move the relationship into a client status, you know? All right, let's go to 411. Let's see, who would read, we're gonna talk about the close. And here's the thing, don't do all this work in prospecting and get all this great information about them and then not close the deal. I mean, and closes are uncomfortable, okay? And everybody needs to talk themselves through what that close is gonna look like for them, because when you get to the finish line, you gotta have it ready to go, okay? I always remember, what was that, the show on TV about the doctors. There were a bunch of doctors, and I can't remember the black guy's name, but anyways, I remember he was a surgeon. And he did this unbelievable surgery, okay? And he walked out and he was like, yes, you know, and I always think that's what a close is. I mean, that's the finish line. I won first place. I won the lottery. Yippee! Because the close.
Grey's Anatomy?
Yes, that's it. Thank you. I don't watch that many shows, so. But anyways, that's how I feel when I get to the close. I mean, that's how you should feel, and don't not get that feeling by not using your close. Because, you know, if you never close, they're not going to close for you. Because we're like, you know, car salesmen. So, anyways, so here, can I get someone to read some of these closes for me?
You know, the one thing I'm gonna say is when we did this Ignite one time, someone there thought you had to do each one of these.
Oh,
These are ones that you have to pick out from
No.
the conversations you've
No.
already had.
Why don't
So
we just
just let
start
you know.
around the room and everybody?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you start, let's start over here.
The
I'm sorry,
hard
what's
code.
your name again?
Bill,
Bill, okay,
that's perfect. Let's meet today,
yeah.
2 or 3:30, what is best for you?
Good.
The soft close. I really enjoyed visiting with you. When would you like to get together to discuss this further?
the direct close, can we meet today, or would tomorrow be better? The indirect close, would it be okay if I got you some information to look over and then we can meet to discuss it?
The trial close, I think you would agree that we have gone over enough today that meeting would be our next step. When can you meet with me?
Is something close. Sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week, so what works best for you?
The negative, positive close, would you be the take back close. I've really enjoyed visiting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can be of help or not, but I would be honored if we could meet to find out.
That's a hard one, that's good.
The tie-down close. Wouldn't it make sense for us to meet the next day or so?
The alternative choice close. What works better for you? Meeting today, sometimes this afternoon, or how about tomorrow morning?
I think the other piece to this is, I would tell you, there's probably one or two in here you're most comfortable using because your personality lends to that one.
Right.
So find a couple of them, put them in your back pocket, have them ready to go. But the other thing is, this is another place where you have to use positive affirmation, okay? Because the close is the hardest thing to do, and you have to recognize you're bringing these people value. You have a service they need, okay? So don't be afraid to use it, okay? Okay, let's see where we're at. So we've talked about the close. Ask for the business. You have worked really hard. Don't walk away, okay? Small commitments are a victory, okay? So you may not have gotten the listing, but maybe you got the, you know what, call me back in 2 months. And then, please don't forget to call them back. I mean, I just lost a listing because I was a week late in calling them back. Shame on me. I had it in my schedule to call them, but I was giving them an extra week, and then some other agent swooped in and took it from me, and that's fine. My bad, my goof. So